I had been married to Sarah for 18 years, built a life that I thought was unshakable. Our daughters, Amanda 17 and Jessica 15, were my world, my pride. We had the house in suburban Boston family dinners and weekend trips that defined what I thought was happiness. But lately something felt off. Sarah was distant, working late with her new boss, David Thompson. The girls whispered when I entered rooms, conversations stopping abruptly. Last night I saw a message pop up on Sarah's phone before she snatched it away. The name read simply, DT, with a heart emoji. My stomach knotted as doubts crept in. If you are watching this right now, let me know where you are viewing from in the comments below. Also, please hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you will want to hear how I turned my world right side up when everyone I loved tried to tear it down. The morning routine in our house used to flow like a well-rehearsed dance. I would wake up at 6, put coffee on, and Sarah would join me in the kitchen by 6:30. We would talk about our plans for the day while the girls stumbled downstairs still half asleep but ready for school. Weekends meant pancakes, hiking trips to New Hampshire, or just hanging out watching movies. We were that family that others looked at with envy, or at least that is what I believed. I had worked my way up as a software engineer at a tech company, putting in long hours but always making it home for dinner. Our 2-story colonial-style house was not a mansion, but it was comfortable with 4 bedrooms and a yard big enough for barbecues in summer. Sarah and I had saved for years to move to this neighborhood for the good schools. Sarah worked as a marketing manager for a healthcare company's steady 9-to-5 job for most of our marriage. Things changed 6 months ago when she got a promotion and started working under the new marketing director, David Thompson. She was excited about the opportunity, talked about how David had revolutionized marketing at his previous company, how he was bringing fresh ideas. "Jerry, this could be huge for my career," she had said, eyes bright with ambition. "David really sees my potential." I was happy for her, proud even. After years of supporting my career goals, it was her turn to shine. Looking back, I can pinpoint when things began to shift. It started with small changes. Sarah began wearing more makeup to work, bought new clothes that were slightly more stylish than her usual conservative attire. She said she needed to look the part of a senior manager. I thought nothing of it at first, even complimented her new look. Then came the late nights. Once a week became twice, then 3 times. Always the same explanation. "David and I need to finish this presentation," or "We have a deadline for this campaign." Her phone became an extension of her hand, constantly buzzing with notifications. She would step outside to take calls, saying she did not want to disturb me. When I would walk into a room where she was texting, she would quickly lock her screen. Our intimate life dwindled. She was too tired, too stressed, had a headache. The excuses piled up like autumn leaves. When I tried to talk about it, she accused me of being insensitive to her work pressure. Then came the weekend conferences and overnight business trips. They seemed legitimate enough, with email itineraries and hotel confirmations. But when I offered to drive her to the airport for one trip, she insisted on taking a taxi. "Do not be silly, Jerry. You have that project deadline. I can manage." I noticed she always mentioned David in our conversations, how brilliant his ideas were, how he challenged conventional thinking. Her eyes would light up just speaking his name. "David thinks we should approach this from a different angle," or "David and I were discussing this over lunch." David and I. The phrase began to grate on my nerves. While Sarah's behavior was changing, so was our daughters. Amanda, our eldest, had always been studious and responsible. She was preparing for college applications, talking about pre-med programs and scholarships. Jessica was our social butterfly, involved in drama club and always surrounded by friends. Both girls had been daddy's girls when they were younger, but teenagers naturally pull away. This felt different. I first noticed when I suggested our traditional father-daughter day, something we did monthly. Both girls had excuses. "Sorry, Dad, I have this study group I cannot miss," Amanda said. "Cheer practice runs late on Saturdays now," Jessica claimed. When Sarah was working late, I would try to engage the girls in conversation at dinner. They would give short answers then, ask to be excused to do homework or call friends. One evening I walked past Jessica's room and heard her on the phone. "Mom's going to be home late again." "Yeah, she's with him." No, Dad doesn't suspect anything. When I questioned her about it later, she turned bright red. I was talking about Mom working late with her team. What did you think I meant? Amanda became protective of Sarah's schedule, almost managing it. Mom said she told you she has that dinner meeting tonight, she would say before I even asked where Sarah was. Once, when I picked up Jessica's phone by mistake, she nearly panicked, snatching it from my hand. The most telling moment came when I mentioned our wedding anniversary was coming up, and I wanted to surprise Sarah with a weekend getaway. Amanda and Jessica exchanged looks across the dinner table. Mom's really busy this quarter, Dad, Amanda said carefully. Maybe just do dinner somewhere nice. Yeah, Jessica added quickly. She mentioned that big project launch is that weekend. I had not specified which weekend. Sarah had not even told me about a project launch. The final clue came when I overheard Amanda on the phone in her room. I had not meant to eavesdrop, but her words stopped me cold. Mom needs to be more careful. I know, but Dad's not stupid. What if he checks her location? No, I already covered for her last weekend. Tell her to text me when she's leaving your place. I stood there, blood rushing in my ears. Who was she talking to? Was it possible? My 17-year-old daughter was speaking to the man my wife was seeing behind my back. That night I lay awake, while Sarah slept beside me, her back turned. I felt like a stranger in my own home, surrounded by people who were keeping secrets from me. The three women I loved most in the world had formed an alliance that excluded me. I just did not know how deep the betrayal went. The first solid evidence came on a Tuesday. Sarah had told me she would be working late on a presentation with her team. I was cleaning up after dinner when I found a receipt that had fallen from her purse. It was from Maison Laurent, an upscale French restaurant downtown dated the previous Thursday when she had also worked late. The receipt showed a dinner for two with an expensive bottle of wine paid for by a credit card that ended in numbers that did not match any of our cards. My colleague Brian unknowingly confirmed my suspicions a week later. We were grabbing coffee when he mentioned, "I saw your wife at Ritz-Carlton last week." I waved, but she did not see me. She was having drinks with some guy in the lobby bar. Business meeting, I guess. I nodded and changed the subject, but internally my mind was racing. Sarah had told me she was at a marketing seminar that evening. The next piece of evidence appeared accidentally. Our home computer synced with Sarah's work email. She usually logged out, but one day she had not. A message from David Thompson appeared with the subject line, "Last night." Curiosity and dread battling within me, I clicked. Last night was amazing. Cannot stop thinking about you. Same room next week, I will make the reservation. Delete this after reading. DT. I checked our credit card statements and found charges at boutique stores I had never heard of, purchases Sarah had never mentioned or shown me. A silk blouse from a high-end shop lingerie that I had never seen her wear a hotel parking garage downtown on days she was supposedly at the office. The perfume was another tell. Sarah had worn the same perfume since we first dated, a light floral scent I had given her on our second anniversary. Lately, she smelled different, more expensive somehow. When I commented on it, she brushed it off. Just trying something new. The sample was in my last makeup order. I started documenting everything, creating a timeline of her lies. For 3 weeks, I noted when she said she was working late and compared it with her actual location from our family tracking app, which we had installed years ago for safety. The pattern was unmistakable. Twice a week, her location showed her at an address that matched the Archer Hotel downtown, not her office. One night, Sarah left her phone unlocked on the counter while she showered. I had never invaded her privacy before, but now I felt justified. I opened her messages and found a thread with DT. The exchanges were brief but damning. "Miss you already." Meeting ran long. "Can we push to 7? Wear that black dress again. Cannot stop thinking about how you looked in it." I scrolled through, feeling sicker with each message. Then I saw something that stopped my heart. A message from David. "Did the girls cover for you last weekend?" Jay seemed suspicious. Sarah had replied. Amanda handled it. Told him I was at a seminar. "We're good." My daughters knew. They were actively helping their mother cheat on me. I dug deeper and found messages between Sarah and Amanda. Sarah need to stay downtown tonight. If Dad asks, tell him my presentation prep is running late. Amanda, got it. What time should I say you'll be home, Sarah? Around 11. Love you, sweetheart. Amanda, love you too. Have fun with David. Have fun with David. My 17-year-old daughter was encouraging her mother's affair. I went through Jessica's room next day while she was at school, hating myself for the invasion but needing to know the truth. In her desk drawer, I found a small diary with a lock, which took me only minutes to open. Inside were entries that confirmed my worst fears. Mom seemed so happy with David. I've never seen her smile so much. Dad's always been so boring and focused on work. David took us shopping last weekend, when Mom said she was taking us to visit Aunt Linda. He bought me these amazing shoes that Dad would say are too expensive. He said when they're all together officially, we can go to Paris for spring break. I cannot wait, when they're all together officially. My 15-year-old daughter was looking forward to her mother leaving me for another man. The final confirmation came when I decided to follow Sarah myself. I told her I had a work event then parked across from her office. At 6 I watched as she walked out with a tall, well-dressed man in his 40s, David Thompson. They got into his black Audi and drove to the Archer Hotel. I sat in my car for an hour, watching the entrance, torturing myself with images of what was happening inside. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. When will you be home from your work thing? Mom's working late again. Another lie coordinated between mother and daughter. I drove home in a daze. Jessica was in the kitchen making a sandwich. Where's your sister? I asked, trying to keep my voice normal. Upstairs studying. Her AP exams are coming up. Jessica barely looked up from her phone. Mom texted. She's stuck at work again. Some big presentation tomorrow. Really? Did she say what time she'd be home? I watched her face carefully. A flicker of unease crossed her features. Around 11, I think. Not sure. That's funny, I said, keeping my tone conversational. I just drove past her office. Everyone had gone home. Jessica's eyes widened slightly before she controlled her expression. Maybe she went to get dinner first, or to a coffee shop to work, I don't know, Dad. Jessica, do you know where your mother actually is right now? Her face flushed. Why are you interrogating me? I'm not Mom's keeper. But you do know she's not at work, don't you? Jessica grabbed her sandwich and started to leave. I have homework. Jessica. My voice was firm enough to stop her. I know about David. I know you and Amanda have been covering for Mom. I know everything. She turned eyes filling with tears. You don't understand. Mom deserves to be happy, and I don't. The question hung in the air between us. It's different. David makes her feel special. You're just there. Her words cut deeper than any knife. And you're okay with her lying. With you lying to me, Jessica looked down. David says sometimes adults need to make hard choices for happiness. He says you'll be fine. You have your work, David says. I echoed hollowly. The man who's sleeping with your mother, while still married to me. He's giving you life advice now. He's going to divorce you once the timing is right. He's just waiting for the right moment. He doesn't want to hurt you more than necessary. I laughed a harsh sound that made Jessica flinch. That's very considerate of him. And you and Amanda are just fine with this plan. He's going to help me get into NYU. He knows people, and he's taking us all to Europe next summer. Her voice had a defensive edge that broke my heart. My daughter was justifying betrayal for material promises. I nodded slowly. I see. Well, thank you for being honest, finally. I walked upstairs and knocked on Amanda's door. It was time to hear what my older daughter had to say for herself. That evening I waited in the living room, all lights on, until I heard Sarah's key in the lock at 11:30. She entered looking startled to see me still up. Jerry, why are you still awake? Is everything okay? Her hair was slightly mussed lipstick, freshly applied, but slightly smudged at one corner. Sit down, Sarah. We need to talk. My voice was calm, much calmer than I felt. She hesitated, then sat across from me. What's this about? I'm tired. It's been a long day at work. At work, I repeated. Interesting choice of words. Would your workplace happen to be room 718 at the Archer Hotel? All color drained from her face. What are you talking about? I laid out the evidence methodically. The receipts, the credit card statements, the location discrepancies, the text messages. With each item, she seemed to shrink further into the couch. It's not what you think, she began the classic line of every cheater in history. It's exactly what I think. You're having an affair with David Thompson. You've been seeing him for at least 6 months, and our daughters have been helping you cover it up. At the mention of the girls, something shifted in her expression. Defiance. The girls understand that people grow apart, that sometimes marriages run their course. Is that what you told them? That I'm just some chapter in your life that's finished 18 years, Sarah? 18 years of building a life together. You stopped seeing me years ago, Jerry. You're so wrapped up in your work, your routines. When was the last time you surprised me? When was the last time you really looked at me? So this is my fault. I've been working to give us the life we both wanted. The house, the girls' college funds our retirement. She shook her head. David makes me feel alive. He sees me as a woman, not just a wife and mother. And does David know you're using our daughters as accomplices in your deception? Do you realize what you're teaching them about trust, about commitment? They're old enough to understand that adults have complex relationships. David cares about them. He's talked to Amanda about colleges, helped Jessica with her drama audition piece, while sleeping with their mother behind their father's back. What a role model. The bitterness in my voice was unmistakable. I was going to tell you, she said, voice softening. I've been trying to find the right time. David and I. We want to be together properly. How considerate. And when exactly were you planning to drop this bomb? After Amanda's graduation, once Jessica finishes high school, or were you waiting for me to catch you? I didn't want to hurt you. I laughed harshly. Well, mission failed spectacularly. What do you want me to say, Jerry? That I'm sorry I am sorry you had to find out this way. But I'm not sorry for finding happiness again. And the girls. You've put them in an impossible position, asking them to lie to their father. You've made them choose sides. They made their own choice. Her words hung in the air between us, the final blow. I nodded slowly, something cold and resolute settling in my chest. I see. Well, I've made my choice too. I stood up and called out, Amanda, Jessica, come down here, please. Sarah looked alarmed. What are you doing? Having a family meeting. Isn't that what families do when there's something important to discuss? The girls appeared at the top of the stairs, faces apprehensive. They must have heard at least part of our conversation. Come sit down, I said, my voice gentle despite everything. They were still my daughters, even if they had betrayed me. Once we were all seated, I looked at each of them in turn. I know everything. I know about your mother and David. I know you've both been lying to me, creating alibis, keeping secrets. What I want to know is why. Amanda spoke, first chin raised defensively. Mom deserves to be happy. And I don't. I asked, echoing the question I had asked Jessica earlier. You're always working, Amanda countered. Always on your laptop or phone. David actually listens when Mom talks. I work to provide for this family, I said quietly. Everything I've done has been for the three of you. David says marriage shouldn't be about sacrifice, Jessica chimed in. It should be about joy and connection, David says, I repeated. The man who's known you for what, 6 months? He's suddenly an expert on our family. He's going to help me get into Stanford, Amanda said. He knows people on the alumni board. And he promised me acting lessons with his friend who works on Broadway, Jessica added. I looked at Sarah. So that's it. You've sold our marriage for career connections and promises. Sarah, at least, had the grace to look ashamed. It's not like that. David and I have real feelings for each other. Real enough that he's been bribing our daughters to accept him. Real enough that he's had you lying and sneaking around instead of being honest. No one had an answer to that. I stood up, suddenly exhausted. I'm going to stay at a hotel tonight. I need some space to think. But I want you all to know something. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. As I packed a bag, Sarah followed me to our bedroom. What does that mean, this isn't over? Are you going to try to make this difficult? I looked at her, this woman I had loved. For nearly 2 decades now, a stranger. I'm not going to make a scene or beg you to stay. That's not who I am. But actions have consequences, Sarah. Always. That night, I drove aimlessly through the city before checking into an airport hotel. I called my old friend Michael, the only person I felt I could trust. They all knew Mike. All 3 of them plotting behind my back. Jesus, Jerry. I don't know what to say. What are you going to do? I stared out the window at the city lights. I'm going to show them exactly who they're dealing with. The next morning, instead of going to work, I visited Patricia Daniels, the most feared divorce attorney in Boston. Her reputation for aggressive but clean legal battles preceded her. Given the evidence of infidelity and the fact that your wife involved your minor children in her deception, we have a strong case for favorable terms, Patricia explained after reviewing my documentation. Massachusetts is a no-fault state, but judges still consider conduct when dividing assets. I don't want to destroy Sarah, I clarified. I just want what's fair, and I want my daughters to understand there are consequences to betrayal. Patricia nodded. We'll file immediately and request temporary orders regarding the house and finances. In the meantime, I suggest you secure your assets. I spent the afternoon transferring funds from our joint accounts to new individual accounts, leaving enough for household expenses, but protecting the bulk of our savings. I called our investment advisor and froze the college funds I had set up for the girls, making it clear they were still earmarked for education, but would now be under my sole control. Next, I contacted a real estate agent about short-term rentals near the girls' school. I found a modest 3-bedroom apartment available immediately and signed a 6-month lease. The most difficult step came next. I had never considered myself vindictive, but this went beyond personal hurt. It was about integrity. I sent an email to the CEO of Sarah's company, a woman I had met several times at company functions. I regret having to write this email, but I believe it's important you're aware of an inappropriate relationship between your marketing director, David Thompson, and my wife, Sarah Wright, who reports directly to him. This relationship has been ongoing for at least 6 months and represents a clear violation of company policy regarding supervisor, divided by subordinate relationships. I have documentation if required. I sent a similar email to Human Resources attaching redacted text messages that prove the relationship while removing any content that might embarrass Sarah unnecessarily. This wasn't about humiliation, it was about consequences. I hired a private investigator to look into David Thompson's background and finances. The report came back within 48 hours and confirmed what I had suspected. David was not the successful, stable executive he pretended to be. He had significant debt from a failed business venture 3 years ago, was still paying alimony to 2 ex-wives, and had a reputation for office relationships at his previous companies. When I returned home after 3 days away, Sarah was waiting furious. How dare you go to my company? David and I have been called to HR. They're talking about transferring me to another department or possibly letting one of us go. Is that what you wanted? To ruin my career? I wanted the truth to come out. I said simply, something you were never brave enough to provide. This is vindictive and petty. Her eyes flashed with anger. No, Sarah. Vindictive would be telling everyone we know about your affair. Vindictive would be using the girls as pawns the way you did. I'm simply making sure appropriate boundaries are maintained in a professional environment. They're investigating David's expense reports, now suggesting he misused company funds to wine and dine me. Do you know what that could do to him? I shrugged. Actions have consequences. Isn't that what we always taught the girls? Speaking of the girls, they were icily polite when they saw me. Amanda refused to make eye contact, while Jessica looked like she had been crying. Later that evening, Jessica came to my home office, hovering in the doorway. Dad, can I ask you something? I gestured for her to come in. Of course. Why did you have to tell Mom's company? Now everyone's talking about it. Some kid at school said his mom works there and knows all about it. Her voice was small, embarrassed. Jessica, your mother chose to have an affair with her boss. That's against company policy for good reason. It creates conflicts of interest and abuse of power. I didn't share anything with your classmates or their parents. The gossip is an unfortunate consequence of your mother's choices, not mine. David called Mom last night. He said they need to cool things until the HR investigation is complete. He sounded different, cold. Jessica looked confused, hurt. People show their true character in difficult times. I said gently, remember that. The next blow came from Sarah's parents. I had always had a good relationship with Robert and Linda. When I called to tell them what had happened, expecting support for their daughter, I was surprised. "We raised her better than this," Robert said gruffly. "Linda and I are disappointed in her Jerry, and involving the girls. That's unforgivable. We still love you," Linda added. "You'll always be family to us, no matter what happens with the divorce." Their support was a lifeline I hadn't expected. 2 weeks after filing for divorce, I moved into the apartment I had rented. I invited the girls to see it, but only Jessica came. "This is where you live now." She looked around the sparsely furnished space. "For now, it's close to your school. You and Amanda can stay here whenever you want. Your rooms are ready." Jessica wandered into the bedroom I had set up for her. It was simple, but I had put up photos of her drama performances and her favorite posters. "Dad, David hasn't called Mom in days. She keeps calling him, but he doesn't answer." Jessica sat on the bed looking younger than her 15 years. "And this Stanford friend he was supposed to introduce Amanda to Mom can't reach him either." I sat beside her. "Sometimes people make promises they never intend to keep, sweetheart. Were all the things he said lies?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't know. But I do know that a man who would help a woman lie to her husband and children is not someone whose word I would trust." Jessica leaned against my shoulder, a gesture she hadn't made in years. "I'm sorry I helped Mom lie," I thought. "I thought it would make everything better somehow." I put my arm around her. "We all make mistakes, Jess. The important thing is learning from them." The fallout continued over the next few weeks. Sarah called me, voice tight with anger and something else. Fear. "David's been put on administrative leave pending the investigation. They've discovered he used company funds for our hotel rooms, claiming they were business expenses. He's blaming me, saying I knew and went along with it. He's thrown me under the bus, Jerry." I said nothing, letting her continue. "And now he won't take my calls. His wife found out everything we've been doing this whole time and called me screaming about how I had destroyed her family." Her voice broke. "He told me they were separated, that divorce papers were being filed." "Another lie," I said quietly. "I've lost everything," she whispered. "My promotion is gone. I'm being transferred to the Buffalo office if I want to keep my job at all. David's blocked my number. The girls are barely speaking to me. That's the thing about lies, Sarah. They tend to unravel all at once." The next day, Amanda came to see me at the apartment, her eyes red-rimmed, but her posture defiant. "I heard Mom might be moving to Buffalo for work. If she goes, I want to stay with you until graduation. It's only 5 months." I was surprised. "You're welcome to stay, but I thought you were upset with me." She looked away. "David promised to introduce me to this Stanford alumnus who could help with my application. Turns out he doesn't even know anyone at Stanford. He made it all up. Jessica's Broadway connection, also a lie." "I'm sorry, Amanda. You deserved better. We all did." She met my eyes finally. "I'm sorry too, Dad. For everything." The most revealing moment came when Jessica ran into David at the mall. She called me afterward, voice shaking. "He acted like he didn't even know who I was, Dad." I said hi, and he just looked confused and walked away. Like we had never spent time together, like he hadn't promised me all those things. Mom says he's just being careful because of the divorce and work stuff, but I know that's not it. He just doesn't care about us at all. As the weeks passed, the dust began to settle. Sarah accepted the transfer to Buffalo, but agreed the girls would stay with me to finish the school year. The divorce proceedings moved forward efficiently, thanks to Patricia's expertise. Sarah, humbled by David's abandonment and facing professional consequences, didn't contest the equitable division of assets I proposed. David Thompson was eventually fired after the company investigation revealed a pattern of expense, account abuse, and inappropriate relationships with subordinates. His wife filed for divorce, and from what I heard through mutual connections, she was taking him for everything he had, which wasn't much given his debt. The girls began spending more time at my apartment. Jessica put up new drama club photos on her wall. Amanda asked for help with her college applications, now focused on schools we could realistically afford without dipping into the secured college funds. One evening, as we had dinner together, Amanda looked at me thoughtfully. "You know what's weird? When Mom and David were together, he always talked about big things. Fancy trips, expensive colleges, connections to important people. But nothing was real. You never promised us the moon, Dad, but everything you said you'd do, you did." Jessica nodded. "Yeah, like when you said you'd come to every one of my performances even though they're on work nights. You've never missed one." "That's what family does," I said simply. "We show up. We keep our word." The healing wasn't instant or complete. The girls still spoke to their mother daily, still loved her, despite everything. I encouraged that relationship, never speaking ill of Sarah in front of them. They would form their own judgments over time. Sarah called me the night before she left for Buffalo. "I made a terrible mistake, Jerry. Not just the affair, but involving the girls, risking everything we built together for something that wasn't even real. David never cared about me. He was just using me, and I was too blinded to see it. I hope you find what you're looking for in Buffalo," I said, meaning it. Despite everything, I didn't wish her ill. "Could we ever?" she began, then stopped. "Never mind. It's too late for that question." "Yes," I said gently. "It is. I started dating again 6 months after Sarah left, meeting a kindergarten teacher named Diane through a friend. We took things slowly, both carrying our own baggage from past relationships. The girls were wary at first, but warmed to her when they saw how she treated me with respect and genuine affection. Sarah remained in Buffalo, eventually meeting someone new, a divorced father of 2 who seemed stable and kind from the girls' reports. We developed a cordial co-parenting relationship, nothing more. Looking back now, 2 years later, I can see how that devastating betrayal changed all of us. The girls learned hard lessons about integrity and consequences. Sarah discovered that what glitters isn't always gold. And I learned that sometimes standing up for yourself isn't about revenge, but about self-respect. I did not lash out in rage or try to punish them all. I simply revealed the truth and let natural consequences unfold. David showed his true colors when faced with adversity. Sarah had to confront the damage her choices caused. The girls learned that actions have repercussions that can't be undone with apologies. Today, Amanda is a pre-med student at a state university, working hard and dating a young man who treats her with respect. Jessica is finishing high school, wiser beyond her years about judging character. They split their time between my home and Sarah's when she visits from Buffalo. We've found a new normal that works for all of us. The hardest lesson was one I had to learn myself. Loving someone doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary. And sometimes the family you rebuild after heartbreak is stronger than the one you had before. Have you ever had to stand up for yourself when those closest to you betrayed your trust? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about overcoming life's challenges with dignity and strength. Share this with someone who might need to hear that they deserve better. Thank you for listening. And remember, your worth is not determined by how others treat you, but by how you respond when tested.